Super Mario Odyssey. This ambitious Mario platformer is already beloved by many, but this is actually a pretty divisive entry. Odyssey branches out the usual 3D Mario formula, with more open exploration and varied forms of gameplay. While the focused platforming challenges the series is known for are still present, they've definitely taken a back seat in this new direction. And depending on what you enjoy about Mario games, this will either greatly please or greatly disappoint you. In any case, it's hard to deny how much love and consideration is poured into this game. In this video, I'm going to lay out what I found to be the best and the worst aspects of this game. Be warned that full spoilers for Super Mario Odyssey are on the table. The best. Number 1, controlling Mario. Mario's never been so fun to play as. Odyssey's additions to his moveset are exceptional. Moves can easily be strung together for tremendous flexibility and precision. Getting around and overcoming obstacles has never allowed for so much creativity. All the classics are here and smoother than ever to pull off. It's worth calling out the mid-air dive, which feels fantastic to use and vastly increases his aerial mobility. You can roll down hills or across distances to pick up speed, and long or triple jumps can be woven in to keep the momentum going. The wall kick isn't as snappy as it used to be, but you pretty much can't mess it up now. Adding to all of this is Cappy, Mario's hat companion, offering even more options. Bouncing off your hat opens up a lot of possibilities, letting you cross large gaps in impressive ways. Cappy can also be used to attack or collect things at a distance, adding an appreciated amount of utility to something Mario's always had. This is a superb control method all around for controlling a character in a 3D platformer that gets all the basics right, and I haven't even gotten to number 2, captures. The premier ability of Odyssey is the power to capture and control enemies and objects throughout each kingdom. And straight up, this is an exceptionally fun mechanic. While a good half of these captures are really only used for the novelty, the more carefully considered ones, with entire kingdoms designed around them, are wonderful. Loads of challenges are crafted with the more unique captures in mind, greatly varying up gameplay while often introducing new capabilities of the acquired form. The finest of these are absolutely the new enemies created precisely with capturing in mind. The Uproot focuses on verticality, suiting its kingdom's tall layout. The Tropical Wiggler's really interesting, with a distinct way of moving around the environment. And the Pokio is particularly inspired, using its spear-like beak to climb walls in a very authentic way. But the one that impressed me the most is the Gushin of the Seaside Kingdom. This capture is resource-based, reliant on how much water it's absorbed, which is always visually conveyed by the bubbles surrounding it. It can be used for vertical and horizontal movement, allowing the player to smoothly wind through the environment, and is insanely fun to use. It even doubles as a projectile weapon. Classic enemies like Bullet Bills and Lava Bubbles are exciting to take control of after Mario's been dealing with them for so long. Cheep Cheeps in particular are a wonderful solution to plotting underwater movement and air meters. Tons of captures were designed to ensure travel is smooth and empowering, and this is deservedly the standout feature of Odyssey. Also, shout out to the Yoshi capture. This is a novel way to freshen up a recurring power-up. Number 3, Kingdoms of Context. No surprise, I love context. I like worlds to make sense, or at least try to make sense. 3D Mario games rarely make world building a priority. Sunshine's the one that really tried, but its level design suffered because it focused too much on being realistic. Mario levels are at their best when they're crafted from the ground up to support their platforming challenges, and Odyssey manages to take the playground-like environments of Super Mario 64 and combine them with context to fashion some of the most charming and well-conceptualized worlds this series has ever seen. Odyssey's laid out like a trip through tourist destinations, with nearly every location you visit having a purpose as to why you're there and Bowser's overall goal of a perfect wedding. A travel brochure accompanies each superbly themed kingdom, hyping up the new stop by showing landmarks and even hinting at hidden areas. I'd read it first thing every time and couldn't wait to start running all over the place. My favorite is unquestionably the Luncheon Kingdom. Look at this place, absolutely gorgeous. Neon mountains and pink lava make up this land of stupendous stew, wacky food-based enemies, and some of the most satisfying platforming in the game. The previously mentioned lava bubble is a blast to leap around the boiling lakes with, culminating in an entirely original boss fight against Cookatiel. I like weird a lot. I can flop around as a piece of meat in this place. 10 out of 10 Freakland and the most unforgettable luncheon I've ever been to. I also want to give credit to Bowser's Kingdom for going in a completely new direction with his aesthetic. It's one of the most memorable Bowser-themed environments yet because of it, showing how worthwhile it can be to try something different with a series classic. Number 4, Trials and Bosses. Odyssey constantly keeps you guessing. You never really know what's coming next. With so many new things around each corner, it can get overwhelming at times. Each world hosts a plethora of secret stages. These trials follow a more Mario Galaxy style of level design, as they're far more focused challenges that remove a lot of the noise to ask for adept skill with Mario's abilities. These are satisfying to conquer, particularly the post-game ones where the difficulty is ramped up a bit, and they can range anywhere from precision platforming to showing your skills with a specific capture. These trials could have been pushed a bit further with length and difficulty, but they're a good time all the same. Odyssey is also host to plenty of well-crafted boss fights. These are some of the best bosses this series has seen, including an ancient stone head, an energy siphoning mecha wiggler, and an unidentified flying flower collector. Most of these ask for proficient use of the more intricate captures. The Brutals tend to be fought as regular Mario, but I appreciate how proactive you can be during these battles. Odyssey's charm is very evident, and wrapping it all up is number 5, memorable, awesome sequences. Odyssey is a vehicle for lasting, memorable moments thanks to impactful art direction and energized music tracks. The New Donk City Festival is a lovingly built celebration of Mario's origins, with a spectacular song backing it up. This is an instantly iconic scenario that's surprisingly emotional and dripping with joyous sincerity. But not every impressionable moment is so positive. The ambush on the way to Bowser's Kingdom reveals an unexpectedly realistic-looking dragon, sending Mario's ship crashing to a ruined kingdom coated in a dark atmosphere. This climactic battle is a standout for sure. Wrapping it all up is a magical ending sequence, knocking this finale out of the park. Bowser lies defeated with Mario and Peach lost on how to escape the collapsing caverns. So what's the solution? Using Cappy to control the most iconic antagonist in video game history, grabbing Peach and getting the hell out of there. You're not just playing as Bowser, you're playing as Mario playing as Bowser. Running through the crumbling path while smashing stones to bits, only to be greeted to an unexpectedly awesome pop song version of Bowser's theme is straight up out of this world. This is an exceptional ending to a grand adventure, wrapping everything up in a snappy, thematic manner. Truly spectacular. And that about covers it. Those are the best aspects of Super Mario Odyssey, but I'll also say, I'm happy coins finally have a sense of value, with so many nicely designed outfits to buy. I actually don't care for many of them, but the Mario 64 and zombie outfits are really dang cool. But it's time we move to the other side of this coin. Super Mario Odyssey gets so many important qualities of this series right, but unfortunately, that's a two-way street, with many of the series' known weaknesses being big problems in Odyssey as well. The worst. Number 1, 3D Mario, easier than ever. 3D Mario games aren't really known for being demanding, and I don't think a challenging difficulty would fit Odyssey, but I do find very little in this game asks for much thought out of the player or proficiency of Mario's abilities. When you break a lot of what you do in Odyssey down, I wouldn't say anything throughout the main adventure is remotely challenging. The post-game does offer some harder secret areas and boss fights, but but it comprises less than 5% of the game's overall content. And as I said, the easy difficulty does feel appropriate for the style and tone of this game, but it really would have benefited from more stimulating optional challenges. If it wasn't so enjoyable to control Mario, and new things weren't constantly being introduced, a lot of this game would feel dull and simplistic. Accomplishments rarely feel like accomplishments because it's all so basic. It's fun in spite of that simplicity, but so much of what you're doing is rudimentary at its core. Which leads me to number 2, filler, empty and busy work moons. Another constant issue with 3D Mario titles is a plethora of stretched content and repetitive, easy collectibles. And Odyssey dials this up more than any other entry in this series. More content can be a nice thing, but in Odyssey, a lot of challenges require little actual effort or demand you repeat something you've already accomplished with a slight change to it. That's still dead easy. Empty moons are often just sitting around, and rewarded for the smallest of interactions. Plenty of these appear in the post-game, and are so unceremoniously scattered about you'll forget they existed a minute after collecting them. A lot of these ask for a simple technique with a capture or jump, throw your hat on a glowing point, or ground pound an obvious spot. These moons are the most guilty of reducing their value, making up close to half of the available moons in every kingdom. Busy work moons try to mask their shallowness by asking you to do, well, busy work. These simple jobs include collecting 5 moon chips in an area, herding sheep into a pen, carrying a seed to put it in a planter, capturing something and bringing it somewhere, going through a portal that's barely hidden, changing your outfit to be allowed in a room, grabbing music notes in a time limit, following a dog until he shows you where to find a moon, and you know what? I could go on and on. An absolute ton of the content in this game feels empty, taking time to accomplish while rarely asking for much proficiency of the player. And like I said, Odyssey's still fun to play in spite of this, due to how enjoyable Mario is to control. But the more you experience of this game, the more its superficial elements become impossible to ignore. Number 3, overused everything. So that list of busy work activities in my previous point that the game throws at you, what if I told you every one of those activities is repeated multiple times? Before I get into this, I want to explain an experience I had in my first playthrough that left a strong impression on me. Early in the game, I was running around the Sand Kingdom, mopping up leftover moons, and I saw a Goombette who'd run away if I approached her. I wasn't sure what to do, but I figured if I became a Goomba, something might happen. And it worked. She liked Goomba Mario and gave up a moon, which felt like a really special moment because even though it's a very simple solution, I thought out how to get results on my own, making for a very organic encounter. Unfortunately, I quickly learned that these Goombettes are all over the place. So this moment stopped feeling unique after seeing her again, and again, and again, and you get the picture. The worst part is tons of things like this are repeated to this degree, drastically reducing the novelty of their inclusion and turning them into repetitive jobs. On top of everything I've already mentioned, we also have meeting up with Peach in every kingdom, answering the Sphinx's questions, looking through binoculars at something flying around, finding a living hat on someone's head, playing music for a toad, hitting a glowing bird flying around the map, kicking a rock around, chasing a rabbit, buying a moon from every shop, and yeah, a whole lot more. Most challenges are repeated in Odyssey to a ridiculous degree, and rarely are they ever expanded upon in interesting ways. Every boss fight is repeated too, and for the most part they are changed up, but another clear example of stretched content. Number 4, disappointing kingdoms. Not every world is going to be expansive, but dang are some of these missed opportunities. The Cloud and Ruined Kingdoms are the most obvious, really only holding a boss fight and a few scattered moons. A shame as they're visually quite captivating, with the Ruined Kingdom in particular oozing potential. Expectations can quickly get out of hand when you first arrive at these places. A few other kingdoms are pretty small as well, such as the Snow Kingdom, which is really only an icy lake and a small hallway with a few segmented areas. As a fan of winter themes, seems, I was pretty bummed out. The Mushroom Kingdom is an exciting post-game reward, but outside of the awesome nostalgic references, there's not much to it. It's the dark and darker sides of the moon that really took the wind out of my sails. Being told the Odyssey's been powered up only to show me more sides of the moon is superbly anticlimactic. And the dark side really only serves as a hub for rebooted levels and boss fights. The final challenge of the darker side is a gauntlet focused on the different captures and techniques you've been using throughout the game. It's satisfying to overcome, but a shame so much of it is designed around gimmicks, making for a lackluster final challenge for platforming enthusiasts. Number 5, Bowser fights. The 3D Mario games just never seem to get Bowser fights right. There's nothing wrong with these battles, but they're so formulaic and pattern-based, they don't feel much like battles. You're left with dull sequences you just have to follow, so they always play out the same way with no room for flexibility. To be fair, you could say this about most of the bosses in this game, but there's something about the Bowser fights that is so choreographed that they bore me. I'm not crazy for how you beat him either. Dodging attacks and pummeling him with his own hat, it just doesn't feel very grandiose for fighting such a ferocious character. It feels underdeveloped on a conceptual level. Using Bowser's hat does tie into the overall theme, but ultimately these battles are forgettable and tedious. Before moving on, it's worth calling out Jump Rope and Volleyball, which are miserably dismal trash. Oh, and this coin coffer moon. Utter nonsense. And that's Super Mario Odyssey. This is a really magical game, but evidently bloated with repetitive content, particularly once you're in post-game. Its positives certainly outweigh its negatives, but that's coming from someone who holds exploring 3D environments as one of his favorite things to do in a game. If you prefer Mario games with focused platforming challenges, Odyssey can easily feel unrewarding and shallow to you. But if you enjoy running around creative, colorful worlds with a remarkable control system, you'll have an absolute blast with this game. Despite my criticisms, Super Mario Odyssey is one of my favorite entries in this series, and I hope future Mario titles continue to refine the balance between free exploration and concentrated challenges. Also, this bird's got a hit. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked my video, subscribe and check out my Patreon. I'll see you next time.